Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Consciousness Review. I'm Miriam Knight, and our guest today is Neale Donald Walsch. He's the author of 27 books on practical spirituality, including the renowned Conversation with God series, which have sold millions of copies worldwide. His books have been translated into 35 languages, and 7 have made it to the New York Times bestseller list. Neale's internet television program, Talk to Neale, allows his readers to interact with him regularly in person at www.cwg.tv. He lives with his wife, the American poet M. Claire, in Ashland, Oregon, not very far from us. And today we're going to talk about his latest book, The Only Thing That Matters. Welcome, Neale. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation.
You know, your latest books focus on conversations with humanity. How do they differ from your Conversations with God books?
Well, I wanted to take the information that I received in Conversations with God and talk to people about it in just a regular one-person-to-one-person way. The Conversations with God have been wonderful to receive and to share. But some people might have a difficult time with the concept, with the idea that we're actually having a conversation with God. Other people are simply intimidated by the context within which they're reading the material. And furthermore, I wanted to have an opportunity to bring other people into the conversation. So what I've done in the Conversations with Humanity series is I've taken a look back at all the comments that I have received in lectures, workshops, personal appearances through the years, and I've dropped those comments into the books that I am now producing so that the voice, if you please, of people everywhere could be heard, and their questions, the comments that they have made, could be answered. So what I've done is I've produced a series of books. I'm in the midst of doing that now, where the reader, him or herself, actually has a voice. And I respond to that voice. I respond to what I've been hearing through the years from people everywhere. I have a great memory for those kinds of comments because they're usually pretty important to me. And so I've given my response to those comments.
I see. Well, of course, we're all struggling with our own notions of spirituality and God. And much as I would like to cut to the chase and find out, as your title suggests, what the only thing that matters is, perhaps we should talk about your notion of God. Is it very different from the sort of demanding, vindictive God of the Bible? And why are you so confident that the Bible is wrong?
Well, I don't think the Bible is wrong. I wouldn't use the word wrong. I would simply use the word incomplete. I think that when we have incomplete information about something, it looks like there's something wrong in what we're seeing. But in fact, it's like looking into a carnival glass mirror. It's just distorted. You're really seeing the image, but it's simply distorted. So I wouldn't say that the Bible is wrong, but I do think that some of the information in the Bible has been distorted through a lack of understanding, or because we have not really received the information in its complete, or considered it in its most complete form. Mm-hmm. So I think that the challenge with the world's religions today is that they simply do not have the whole story. And I was, running around the world asking this question now for years: is it possible that there's something we don't fully understand here about God and about life, the understanding of which could change everything? See, here's what I noticed. Well, I noticed that in spite of all the teaching of all the world's religions through all the centuries and millennia, nothing has changed. Very little has changed. Things have modernized. That is, we have technologies today we didn't have before. We have communications abilities we didn't have before. But the basic conditions of the human experience have not changed at all. We still have the 7 deadly virtues, so to speak: vice, avarice, greed, violence, for that matter, killing even more than ever before, and so forth. So with all of our advancement technologically and in medical science and in all of the areas of life, except spirituality, we find that we are still confronting the same conditions within the human experience that we've confronted from the beginning of time. And I think that is because we simply do not have all the information at our fingertips, all the information about God and about life. Now, there's a reason for that. I hate to just go on and on here. You asked a simple question, but let me just close with this. The reason that we don't have all the information is not that it's not available. It has been made available through the centuries and through the decades, through many teachers and many messengers. So the problem is not lack of availability of all the information. It's lack of believability on our part. That is, we have heard now from messenger after messenger. We simply haven't believed it for the strangest reason. It's too good to be true.
Okay, so how do you define God or divinity?
Well, I don't define God because it's impossible to define God. I define what God is not. People ask me, what is God? And I say, well, you know, the question is so huge that even if I could answer it, and I'm not sure that I can, but even if I could, it would take probably 5 million years to give you the total answer, because that's how huge God is, and maybe even bigger than that. But ask me a different question. What is God not? So the person in the audience says, okay, Neil, then what is God not? What's not God? And I say, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's nothing that is not God. So God is the sum total of all there is, all there ever was, and all there ever will be. The all in all, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Interestingly enough, that is precisely how God is defined by most of the world's great religions, using, in fact, the same language. God is the all in all, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The up and the down of it, the left and the right of it, the here and the there of it, before and the after of it. Male and female created he them. So God is all that ever was, is now, and all that ever will be. One could probably summarize it in a single word, life. Conversations with God tells us that God is life itself expressed. And so we find that the words life and God are interchangeable in most sentences, in most languages.
So, of course, the implication there is that we are just as much a part of God as our notions of God. So God is not only outside of us, God permeates us.
Well, God wouldn't be all that is if God didn't permeate us. If God was all that is in the universe except us, that would make us really exclusive real estate.
Indeed. Now, I noticed that your book was really a kind of example of spiral dynamics, which with each idea being developed from the preceding one. And, you know, it's kind of tempting to go dashing ahead and find out what really matters in life. But you really build a foundation through the book. Now, with that in mind, where would you have us start?
At the beginning. The first sentence in the book, or at least the first paragraph, says 98% of the world's people are spending 98% of their time on things that don't matter. So I would invite people who are really interested in the topic to take a look at the very beginning and stop right there. I mean, read the first paragraph, close the book, put it aside, maybe contemplate or get out a notebook or a piece of paper and write down all the things that I've been thinking, doing, and saying today that in the end don't really matter. And by the way, we don't even have to know what does matter to know what doesn't matter. And a person might say, well, I'm not really clear what does really matter. What's the book trying to say? But I would say to people, wait a minute. Actually, you don't even need to know that. Most of us intuitively understand, at the very least, that what we are doing when it doesn't matter. That is, most of us are pretty clear about the things in our life that don't really matter. It's not a question of lack of clarity. It's a question of lack of will that do the things that don't matter, even though we don't really want to. We almost by force of habit. So the place to start would be to just take a look at what are the things that I'm doing in my life that don't really matter, and what would life be like if I eliminated those things from my daily experience. We'd find, among other things, we have a great deal more time and a great deal more energy. and therefore a great deal more of an opportunity to do the things that really do matter.
It's almost like a declaration of independence from being tied to all the things that demand our time, that really don't add to our well-being or to the world's well-being, I suppose.
I like the way you put that. It would be a declaration of independence from our cultural story, a story that tells us that life is about get the guy, get the girl, get the car, get the job, get the house, get the office in the corner, get the kids, get the bigger house, get the bigger job, get the bigger office on the top floor, get the better car, get the grandkids, get the retirement watch, get the sickness, and get the heck out. and that's how most people live their lives, according to the cultural story that we've been given. And we believe that story. We think that's how it is. We also believe the story that we've been told, if we believe in God at all, about God. Now, if we don't believe in God, then we're free from that story. But if we believe in God, then we necessarily must believe in a God, at least most of us do, that emerges from the cultural story of our own particular faith tradition or religion.